I was just kind of like weaving in and out because I was so much smaller than all the other heavyweights. Like, I've got such a short reach compared to all the other guys. My style was kind of be like, get on the inside, just like weave and then just whip to the body. It's just with, you know, straight. I grew up in Bolney all my life, sleepy little village in the middle of Sussex. I went to a Christian primary school, got raised in a Christian home all my life, but my faith never really had any reality in my life until I was about 20 years old. Going from primary school to secondary was probably the biggest culture shock that I had. Going from a sleepy little village where everyone's well behaved, everyone does what they're supposed to do, to kind of like a melting pot of all these different cultures and upbringings, especially when you're 11 years old and you're so young and impressionable. Secondary school wasn't a fun experience for me. I was always, you know, the big kid, out of shape, felt rubbish about myself compared to everyone else. I had great friends there, typical, you know, teenage boys. Throughout all my secondary school life, I got picked on. I was always the bigger kid, getting teased all my life, and yeah, it always gave me a chip on my shoulder from a very young age, where I might not have always expressed it, but I always carried a lot of resentment and anger with me, and that didn't really have an outlet for me until I turned about 18 and I got into boxing. I started training, I did a charity fight which I won, and then continued training in Brighton since then.
Now the blue corner, Sam Drago Upton.
I thought I'd found my thing. I thought I found the one thing that was going to keep me going, that was an outlet, just getting out all of this stress, all of this aggression, all of this resentment by just smashing bags or sparring, just either beating people up or getting beaten up. And for a while that was the only way that I was feeling anything, any kind of emotion. And I just feel like deep down, although I love the sport and I still do, I just feel like deep down when I was training it was always fueled by anger, and just trying to kind of release it, if that makes sense. Just to kind of prove all the past bullies wrong and just say, look, I can be something, and you know, I'm not gonna be picked on or just pushed around anymore. I'm gonna, you know, go train and fight in a ring for a living. When I kind of got to the age of 18, I was, you know, making stupid 18-year-old decisions, going out, partying all the time, and it was around this point where I started suffering with really bad mental health because I just didn't see any point to what I was doing, and I just couldn't escape from it, and it was getting worse and worse and worse and worse, to a point where I was just questioning, like I say, why I was here and what the point to everything was. And I was looking for temporary outlets all the time, whether that was through boxing, whether that was through going out partying with friends or anything, just looking for anything to kind of take my mind off of it. All of these things, they'd feel good at the time, but then they'd wear off and nothing was permanent. I'd be out in a nightclub, getting drunk, having fun with all of my friends, thinking, hey, this is great. And then I'd wake up the next day feeling worse than ever. Whilst this was happening as well, I was working a job which I couldn't stand. I was selling cars, you know, I made great friends there, got nothing but good things to say about all the people that I met there, but it just wasn't for me, and it was draining me mentally and emotionally, and I was leaving every day just wondering what the point was. And then I was always giving myself like little things like, oh, once this happens I'll be okay, or once that happens I'll be okay, like once I leave that job I'll be okay, once I win my first amateur fight then I'll be okay. But it was just all of these goalposts that I was setting myself, which just led to more disappointment. And then finally, when I did leave the car sales job, I was all set. I was ready to go and train to become a personal trainer, start my own business, start living life the way that I wanted to. And then suddenly, boom, lockdown happened. Lockdown happened and I didn't have any outlets anymore. I wasn't able to see my friends. I wasn't able to go to the boxing gym. I wasn't able to do anything. I was at home with my thoughts all the time, 24 hours a day, and I was losing it. It was getting really, really bad, to a point where I was just done. I'd lost full faith in humanity. I didn't see any point in anything. And I was just looking for an outlet any way I could. And at this point, I stumbled across a page of prophetic words that my mum had for me a few years back. And I'd read them, but never really taken them on board. And it wasn't until I was reading them in my room, in the worst mental state I'd ever been in, and I really started to process them, where I'm just like, right, God has a plan for you. He wants to use you for this, 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 and this. And he's got these plans for you, and he wants you to do these. And I'm just like, right, well, if there's this guy called Jesus who has this plan for me to use me for what he wants to do, and has this amazing long-term plan, then I need to know about it, because I just don't see any point to anything at the moment. A couple of days later, I watched a video on YouTube from a guy named Ben Adams, sharing his testimony about how he came to Jesus from where he was. And he was just talking my language in every single thing that he was saying. I related to everything he said, and I reached out to him on Instagram just for a chat. He then invited me down to the beach to meet him and some of the other guys. And after having a chat with all of these guys there, and just hearing how Jesus has made an impact on all of their lives, and hearing their testimonies and hearing their stories, I was like, right, I'm sold, I'm in. I need to start living his way, because my way's taken me to nothing but despair. So I got baptized on the beach that day, and from then on, just noticing all the immediate changes in my life, and just growing more and more into that. Noticing changes in the way that I think, changes in the way that I behave. Living for a purpose again, knowing that my life is not just meaningless. I'm not just here on a ball of gas and then die one day. There's a long-term plan. Like, we're here for a speck of dust compared to an entire desert of eternity. And just really kind of knowing what the reality of a relationship with Jesus looks like. I can't wait to say I started the 2020s whilst out in a nightclub, and I ended the 2020s. God only knows. We'll see what happens by then. Jesus took a broken kid with regret so deep, who had zero faith in humanity, picked me up, put me on his shoulders, and showed me how valuable I really was, and transformed me from the inside out. A lot of people say the phrase being born again, but I can't tell you how true that is. I don't look at myself before Christ and after Christ as the same person. I really believe that I did die and raise again on that day and was reborn.